And we do have a very tight agenda. It's 9 a.m. on the dot, and some people will be trickling in here, so I'm gonna kind of stall us a little bit, but my name is Catherine Harrington. I'm the president and CEO of the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce, and we welcome you to our first in a series, Business Survival Toolkit. So you'll see many events that'll touch on different topics that our businesses are really needing right now, today. I want to introduce our team real quick. Want to thank Kara Matheson for help putting this all together. Wave, Kara, there you go, excellent. And Nicole Langmaid, our accounting and financial expert. And Anna Dowd just joined us 2 days ago. She's our, Director of Membership and Strategic Partnerships. So our Director of Communications is on a nice vacation today, so this week, but she'll be joining us next week. Our next event is May 14, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of the program. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is going to be very fast paced today. We wanna make sure that we impart a lot of really good, solid information, and honestly, we were kind of overwhelmed with all the response from our panelists saying, yes, 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 I wanna be part of this. So this is terrific. So I'm gonna try not to talk too much, which that's a challenge for me, but, and I wanna make sure that we have time for our panelists and stay on time. This event will end at 10, however, we will have Q&A at the end, and if you wanna stay on, we can do some Q&A. We'll just kind of see how our timing goes, but we are planning to end at 10, but again, if you wanna stay on a little bit after for some Q&A, we can certainly do that. This event will be taped, and so this will be on our website and our social media. So we will be sharing this information for a very long time. We want to thank our supporters today that help make this event possible, and our programming, which we feel is extremely valuable for our community. And today our supporters are Aureon and Security National Bank. I'm happy to introduce Melissa Ness, who is CFO of Aureon, to tell us about Aureon. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Catherine, and good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Ness, and I'm the CFO of Aureon. We are excited to be a part of this Business Survival Toolkit, and we appreciate all the efforts put in by the West Des Moines Chamber to help execute this timely series. For those of you that aren't familiar with Aureon, we are a local business solutions provider serving the Midwest. We offer reliable business solutions so our clients can focus on their day-to-day operations. For more than 30 years now, connectivity has driven our business and been woven into the network services of our offerings. I'm going to share my screen here quick so you can get a visual view of this. I just wanted to share this quick breakdown of the services offered by our 3 core divisions: technology, contact center, and consulting. Our solutions allow our clients to grow their businesses, communicate, gain efficiencies, and work securely anytime, anywhere. Aureon has you covered for network connectivity, voice and data communications, managed IT, outsourced call center support, and project management solutions. We look forward to connecting our area businesses to the experts and tools they need during this challenging and certainly unusual time. If you want more information, please give us a call or visit our website at aureon.com. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Catherine, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa, for supporting the West Des Moines Chamber and this series. We really appreciate it. I am happy now to introduce Ray Meister, Iowa Market President for Security National Bank, to say a few words as well.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you to the West Des Moines Chamber and your staff for allowing us to be part of this program and for sponsoring this first in a series. Security National Bank, as you probably know, is extremely new to the West Des Moines area. As a matter of fact, we're in week 3 of our new facility at 200 South Jordan Creek Parkway in West Des Moines. We are a privately held, family-owned bank headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska. We've been in Iowa in the Council Bluffs area approximately 20 years. I mentioned our new facility here on Jordan Creek. It is a secured facility, but we are open for business as we are an essential business. We're open for business by appointment only. Full service bank, specializing in wealth management, private banking, personal and business banking. We're looking forward to having a grand opening of our new facility sometime in the future when COVID allows us to have that, and we hope to see all of you here in person. But if you do have a banking need, please give me a call and we'll set up an appointment and take care of you one-on-one. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ray. And you're part of our panel too today. So we're excited to hear about all the ways you're able to support our area companies. So we're going to head right into our panel talk and discussion. What we're going to do is we're going to move through each of our expert panelists. And I'm going to ask one question, which is a pretty broad question, and everybody will have about 7 minutes to answer it, and really want to make sure we impart the best information we can for our businesses today. They're out there trying to survive COVID and all that's gone on. So the question that I'd like to have each of you answer, and we will start actually with our surprise guest, who I will introduce in a moment. So here's what we want to ask. There's a wide variety of financial sources that businesses can tap into, and each of you represent a variety of those organizations and support systems. You know, with COVID-19, many businesses right now are struggling. They're trying to figure out how to stay afloat. And today we hope to answer that question: what are the kinds of tools and revenue streams and financial support systems that our businesses can tap into to survive right now? And my question is, what's the best advice that you have for our local companies as to how to plug into you and how to plug into money? You know, it's basically, what can we do to survive right now? And each of you represent along that money chain a variety of different offerings. So we really, again, appreciate you being here. And I'm excited to present our surprise guest, Jane Armstrong, who is the Iowa District Director of the Small Business Administration. So we're going to start with Jane today.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. So sorry for the technical difficulties. So SBA has been front and center with everything going on right now with the recovery and the CARES Act. And we have 2 loan programs that we had been rolling out: our Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and the one that everybody knows is PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. And as of the beginning of this week, we've done over 49,421 loans under PPP just in Iowa for $5 billion. And nationwide, it's just been phenomenal. And so I really want to thank our lending partners and that have been participating in this and getting money out on the street to the small businesses. And we're really seeing, forget the headlines, you know, you see some of the bigger stories and some other markets or whatever. What we are seeing in Iowa is it is getting out to the really small businesses. And I know a lot of businesses that are self-employed or a couple employees that are getting these funds. So, and we're seeing it statewide. We're seeing it from a lot of the small community family-owned banks really have stepped up and have been doing a lot of this lending all throughout the state. So we just really applaud our lending partners out there. But, you know, this is kind of an unprecedented situation that we're in at the SBA. because our systems have been very, very taxed. If I could just share this too. This, when we rolled out this program, it went from legislation being passed, rules being written, and the program being launched within 1 week. That, to my knowledge, with my experience in the government sector, I've never seen that happen. And as along the way, normally something like that, you have 3 to 6 months with comments and rule changes and everything. So that's where some of these rule changes coming from the Treasury and why there's been some changes along the way with it. But the program was just unbelievable that it got launched so quickly. But to put it in perspective, we had in the first round, we did more lending at the SBA in the 2-week period than SBA has done in the past 14 years combined. You know, with our lending partners and having delegated authority to do these loans. So it was just an amazing rollout. It's having a lot of impact, but obviously there's a lot of headaches. And we're on the front lines dealing with a lot of those headaches. We've been working a lot of, I think I've had 18-hour days every day since this all started pretty much. And really trying to respond to get about 1,000 emails a day and hundreds of calls and just trying to respond to everybody very, very quickly. So it's been very, very taxing. Has not, you know, what we've been going through though is nothing compared to the small businesses that we work for are going through with this pandemic and the economic recovery part. So we have the loan programs, and we're trying to get that out to businesses and helping them to get their employees back and to cover those expenses. And the other aspect, and I know Megan is on with the Women's Business Center and the Iowa Center for Economic Success, but we also have our resource partner network of 15 small business development centers, 4 chapters, the Women's Business Center and the Veterans Business Outreach Center, that they play a critical role with this in their partnership with the SBA to provide the counseling and training. And they've been working with a lot of customers, helping them with their financial analysis, their tax information, everything to be able to access this financing. So it's been very daunting for everybody involved in this. I think there's a lot of really committed people behind the scenes and what we've been seeing. We've just had so much going on, but we're all committed to really trying to help small businesses. And I want to thank everybody too I've spent every Saturday out on street corners with signs asking people to honk for small business and to shop mom and pop and everything. So if you see some crazy lady out there doing that, I'm with some business owner friends and everything, please honk, please show your support for small business. But we remain very committed at the SBA, and I don't know what the future is going to look like, what the next round. We have been pivoting every week at the SBA based on as things have been happening. So we've had a lot of internal discussions among our leadership on what's next, what does this quarter look like, what does next quarter look like. We've never been through anything like this. And, I didn't get into EIDL too much, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That has been moving very slowly, too slowly for us at the SBA that are out in the field. We're frustrated as everybody else is with it. But the reality is they had 4 million applications. We had, we've never had a disaster where all 50 states were declared like this. The 4 million applications, and if you recall, we were the 49th state declared a disaster. So if they're being processed in the order they are received, you can see where we are. But I know I did just even talking to some businesses the last couple of days, everybody's starting to get their money. So I know there's a lot of questions. there's still a lot of questions out there on the forgiveness part, and there's going to be, if we have any questions later, that there's going to be a lot that I can't answer yet, because that's still one murky area that we are waiting on the administration, and we're waiting on with Treasury to make some decisions on that with the policy guidance on the forgiveness part of it. So I apologize on that. We're doing the best we can to be a liaison to get this money out, working with all the different partners and getting it on the street. Hope that helps.
Helps a lot, Jane. And the fact that, you know, $5 billion has gone to Iowa, 49,421 loans, that's a lot. And good to know there might be still some more money coming. So we hope you'll stay on the line, and we'll probably have some Q&A, I'm sure, certainly. And we appreciate your time. I can imagine how busy you are with 1,000 emails a day and working 18 hours. That's incredible. Thank you for your help and devotion to helping our businesses, our small businesses, Jane. Next up, oh yeah, absolutely. Next up, we'd like to roll the baton to Polina Engel, who is Advanced Solutions Director with Principal Financial Group.
Hi, good morning, and I am attempting to share my screen. I'm hoping that's working. Do you see my screen?
Great.
Wonderful. Perfect. Thanks so much. And thank you so much, Catherine, for having us. I am very happy to be on this panel and have the opportunity to talk to all of you. Catherine asked me to share a little bit about our organization and the resources that we have available to business owners. And first, I'd like to just share a little bit about the way Principal does business. Even before COVID, Principal has been the leader in the market when it comes to working with small and medium-sized businesses. We truly approach every conversation that we have with a business owner from a high-level planning perspective. So the questions we ask, you know, what's important to you? What is it that you're looking for? What do you need? And what can we do to help you get there? Do you have some challenges in finding and keeping the right employees? Do you have a plan in place if something should happen to one of the business owners? Do you know the value of your company? Do you have a plan to protect that value? Do you have a buy-sell agreement in place? Have you looked at it? Do you know what it says? So these are our daily conversations that we had pre-COVID days with business owners. And now we still continue to have those same conversations. We continue to provide free business valuations. We do free buy-sell agreement review reports. So we keep doing that, but now we're just taking on new challenges, and we're talking about the new changes that business owners might have. And really, as you know, each business is going to be different. And so our goal is to help untangle the different stimulus packages that have come down the pike and see how they're going to apply to each and every business owner, hopefully to help them tap into whatever is available to them in particular. So we have certainly poured over that 800+ page CARES Act and created a lot of resources that are available to business owners. So as Jane mentioned, the PPP program, certainly that's front and center for everybody. That's that loan and loan forgiveness program. And I could certainly take the whole hour to talk about just the PPP, although I imagine Catherine would be screaming at me at this point. So I'm not going to do that. But I just want to share that we do have a calculator online to help you determine the loan amount that you could get. And then this week, we're looking to roll out an expense tracker to keep track of everything that you're using the loan for, what you should be using it for, what you are using it for, and tracking that. So when you apply for that loan forgiveness, the goal is that using that Principal tracker, we can help make that a little bit easier when you're applying for that forgiveness program. But the PPP is a very small part of the CARES Act. I'm just going to quickly highlight some of the other programs that maybe the business should be thinking about. Again, Jane mentioned that economic injury disaster loan. That has existed before. It's now available to a lot more businesses than the EIDL is generally available to. And it's also the requirements for applying for that loan, those have been lessened as well. So more people can qualify now for the EIDL than normally can for disaster loans through the SBA. Part of that loan application, you can request a grant, and that grant doesn't need to be paid back. The grant is now limited to $1,000 per employee, up to a maximum of $10,000 for the business. So that's the EIDL. The CARES Act also created some other subsidies for any pre-COVID SBA loans that a business might have had. So the SBA now pays principal, interest, and fees associated with any pre-existing SBA loan for 6 months. So if you have a loan like that, make sure that you're looking into that benefit. And so in addition to these loans and the grant programs, the Act also created a couple of really important tax relief opportunities to generate some cash flow for the business. The first I wanted to just touch on quickly is the employee retention credit. This is available for businesses that have significantly reduced their operations due to COVID-19. So the goal is to keep employees on payroll and off of unemployment, and the company can receive a payroll tax credit for 50% of wages that they pay to employees. So that wages that are counted are limited to $10,000, which means the credit is really limited to $5,000 per person. But specifically, if you have a business that has more than 100 employees, the credit is going to be only available for those employees who you pay wages to who are furloughed. So they're not coming into work, but you're continuing to pay wages. You get this $5,000 per person credit. For those smaller businesses with less than 100 employees, the company gets a credit for each and every employee that it pays wages to, whether that person is working or they're not working. The word of caution here, though, is if you have a PPP loan, you're not eligible to take this credit. So it's one or the other. The other opportunity that provides some short-term cash for the business is the option to delay paying the employer share of Social Security tax. So this is that 6.2 FICA tax that we're talking about. And the business can completely defer any payment that would otherwise be due in 2020 and then wait to pay the first half until the end of 2021 and the second half in 2022. So that's a nice gap of time that the business gets to keep the money before having to pay those Social Security taxes. Here again, you can get this credit, you can take advantage of it. I'm sorry, not the credit, this delay, you can take advantage of it even if you have a PPP loan. But once you get PPP loan forgiveness, then you cannot continue to defer future taxes. So it's available until such time that you get that loan forgiveness through the PPP. And then the last credit I wanted to mention is the credit that came with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, that Families First Act that was in effect on April 1st. That was the second stimulus package, the one that came before the CARES Act. That one requires the businesses now to provide both emergency paid sick leave and also emergency family medical leave for any employee that's impacted by COVID-19. But it also provides a tax credit to the business for paying those wages to the employee. So that's under the Families First Act. And previously you couldn't get that credit until the end of the year. Now under the CARES Act, that changes slightly, and that credit is available to the company in the same quarter that you pay your sick pay or your FMLA payment. So again, you're freeing up some cash for the company because you get that credit on the front end. Couple of other miscellaneous provisions that were also included in the Act. These might be helpful to business owners. Some very high level here, but charitable contributions, there's been some changes to those, increasing the amount that would be deductible. If a business has AMT credits, changes in the way that net operating losses are treated. So these provisions aren't going to help each and every single business owner. But those that do qualify, it's really important that they know they exist and that they can amend some tax returns in order to get the benefit of some of these CARES Act changes. So I will not go into any detail on these just in the time frame that we've been allotted, but we have all sorts of materials available we have a decision analysis tool that can help the business owner decide which programs might be the best for their particular situation. So that's available on principal.com. And then we also have a lot more in-depth kind of deep dive resources, and we're happy to provide those to you. You're fortunate to have Ann Hudson and Scott Kruger from Principal Des Moines Business Center. They're going to be excellent resources for you to get your hands on some of those in-depth materials and also to answer any questions that you might have at all. We are happy to be available and have those high-level conversations with you. And again, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to present and chat with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Polina. That was a great review of a lot of programs, and it sounds like Principal has some interesting tools, the expense tracker, decision analysis tools. So thanks so much for your information. We are now excited to talk with Adrienne Greenwald, who is Managing Principal of VentureNet, Iowa.
Hello, and thank you, Catherine. It's really good to be here with all of you this morning. So as you just mentioned, I'm the owner and managing principal of VentureNet, Iowa. VentureNet administers the state of Iowa's innovation funds. So this is a series of 4 low-interest loan programs that are targeted specifically at Iowa-based early-stage small businesses that are commercializing proprietary technology in the IT, advanced manufacturing, and bioscience spaces. There's an application process. It starts with a conversation with me or one of my colleagues. You then submit the appropriate application. VentureNet then goes on to organize a focus group. We kind of refer to it as the Iowa Nice version of Shark Tank, if you're familiar with the show Shark Tank. After the company comes in, pitches to the panel, we have a standard set of evaluation criteria that the panel uses to evaluate the company. That evaluation then becomes a supplemental piece of the application. The application then goes on to the Technology Commercialization Committee. That's a committee that makes the fiduciary decision to fund or not fund anyone that applies to these specific programs. And then it goes on to the Iowa Economic Development Authority Board for approval. So in a nutshell, that's essentially what VentureNet does. IEDA has been doing a bunch of other things in light of what's happening right now. So I think if anyone is looking for some small business assistance, I know a lot of their funding has been tapped, but they are still reviewing and accepting a few applications for a couple of their other programs. So if you just Google Iowa Small Business Recovery, that'll get you right to the page with all of the assistance programs that the state is currently offering.
Well, that's nice to know there's still a little bit of something there at the state level.
So everything is changing kind of day by day. And so it's, you kind of have to just roll with it and take it as it comes.
And then Adrienne, for the Innovation Fund, can you be a company of, a brand new company or a company that's, been in business for a while? Are there any restrictions around, where that business is in its growth stage to apply?
So we primarily are targeting early stage companies. But, if you have been established, so we have had applicants that have successfully gotten innovation funds that have been around for 20 years. The key piece for the eligibility to these specific programs is that you are in IT, advanced manufacturing, or bioscience, and it's that proprietary nature of a new technology. So you're bringing something, that you've just created to the market.
So IP in particular, some intellectual property,
Yes. So,
valuable.
And because IT is a large part of what we see, traditionally want to patent your software, but so trademarking, copyrights, there's got to be a little bit of secret sauce there, some barriers to entry.
Very interesting. Well, you really serve an interesting niche, but a much needed niche. And Iowa's an innovative state. And so you represent a lot of those innovation companies. So very nice. Thank you for your information. This is so helpful.
Yeah,
We'd like to hear from Scott Hoekman now, who is principal at Next Level Ventures. How are you, Scott?
Doing well. Thank you for having me. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try to share my screen and see how it works. Hopefully everybody can see it.
Nice.
So Next Level Ventures is a venture capital firm that invests only in Iowa businesses. We have two funds. Our first one in 2014 was about 40 million. We're no longer investing in companies with that fund. And then we have a second fund, which we launched 2 years ago, which is also about $40 million. We've invested in 7 companies in that fund so far. All of our companies are software oriented, whether there's hardware and software. People have maybe heard of MakeYouSafe, that's received some press in the Des Moines Register and other articles like Business Record. They have a solution that's hardware and software that you would wear. They also have some companies in our portfolio that are typical web-based B2B businesses. So we're excited to invest in companies that are growing fast. And I want to talk a little bit about venture capital. So it's not easy to get venture capital. So in this environment, it's not as if like the SBA, which is trying to provide a lot of capital in a very quick period of time with this particular CARES Act program. We're pretty tough about which companies get money. So as I said, we've invested in 15 companies. We've looked at maybe 500 companies here in the state of Iowa to narrow it down to those 15. Overall, if you were to look at the entire nation, only 2% thereabouts, maybe even less than that, of the startups that are sort of the scalable level of startup activity, they get VC-backed financing. So it's not a huge number of companies. The one thing about that is that if they do get the funding, they generally speaking will create a lot of jobs. They're going to grow really quickly, they're going to get really big, and they're going to be not only a national company, but potentially a global company. And one thing that you're going to always know about venture capital companies is that they're doing something that's relatively unique, it's brand new, it's something you haven't seen before. And these are some examples of that. These are huge companies now today, but back in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, or the 2000s, they received venture capital, and they are now some of the household names that you recognize. So if you were to go through the process of venture capital, usually there's a amount of equity that we'll take in part of a round. It's more of an art than it is a science. There's a whole bunch of stages within that, and probably one thing that augments the venture capital space that I'm in is the angels or the friends and family. So these are people that you would know. These are individuals that trust in you and believe in you, or some high net individuals that are from the state of Iowa or around the world that want to try to help your business plan get bigger and stronger. Usually we invest in preferred stock, which means that we would potentially get our money back first before the other owners in the company. So it has some sort of a hybrid of debt quality qualifications to it, even though it is equity. And there's really a few paths that you can go forward. Unfortunately, there aren't that many companies that ultimately scale to the big heights. So there's a lot of failure in venture capital. But if there's wonderful outcomes like Workiva when IPO, they receive some venture capital financing, or you sell your business to a bigger company. And to just illustrate what happens within venture capital, this is at the bottom, these are the types of rounds that you would see in venture capital. So the pre-Series A, that's the friends and family or the angel capital. So basically the company's surviving, 100% of them are alive. But as they get farther and farther along in their life cycle, as they get older as a business, there's a lower chance of success. And that's in part because a lot of these companies don't have a completely defined business model they're burning cash, they aren't profitable. And if you combine those sort of things together, lots of competition, burning cash, not exactly sure about how to grow your business, that's not necessarily a recipe for success. And that's why there's big upside potential, but there's also failure. But here in the state of Iowa, there's a lot of organizations that have come up through the last, say, 5 or 6 years that are targeted at trying to help the early stage companies like the ones in our portfolio at Next Level Ventures. These are not only in the Des Moines area, but across the state. They're based in Ames, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City. They're also based even in some smaller towns, like there's a Papa John Entrepreneurial Center in Mason City, Iowa. These kinds of organizations are very helpful to startups because they in a lot of cases give free advice, even if they might not give free capital. And that's helpful because there could be a connection that's made, a new customer that's made, a new hire that's made through these connections, even if they don't open up their wallet to provide capital to these companies. So I would encourage people that are on this webinar to seek them out and try to get some open alpha hours with them. And the same thing can be said for Next Level Ventures. Feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to share our time with you to go through some of the challenges that you're experiencing, or try to give you some 2 cents to see what it's worth. I'll give you a great example of how this ecosystem is working. The Iowa State Agricultural Entrepreneurship Initiative helped to create the Ag Startup Engine up in Ames. And Next Level Ventures was a founding member of this organization. We actually thought it was more of a write-off instead of something that was going to blossom into something big. But since it was created in 2016, there have been 13 portfolio companies that have received investment. They've gone on to raise $20 million and 2 exits already. That's pretty amazing. That doesn't happen very often. So kudos to Iowa State University. We as investors didn't really do that much. It was Iowa State and their expertise that they brought to the table, as well as the entrepreneurs themselves. They really were able to show some ingenuity and scalability with their companies, and they've been rock stars here in central Iowa with their scalable businesses. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from you, Catherine.
Scott, that's great. You know, you guys have been really champions for funding a lot of these companies, and you've had a lot of success stories, and this is super. And we appreciate the information. A VC is so different than, you know, the innovation fund, different than all these other things we've talked about that Polina has talked about and Jane. So this is really interesting. I love all the span of discussion here. So thank you, Scott. We would now like to talk to Ray Meister, Iowa Market President with Security National Bank, who, like all of us, I'm sure you're busy not only doing home loans because the interest rate's so low right now, but also helping people with plugging into the PPP.
Thank you, and thank you to all the prior presenters for the information you've shared with us. On the lines of best advice, just a couple things I think that I'd like to throw out as it relates to businesses to consider. And this comes both from a bank perspective as well as a banker perspective. And I think it's very critical for all businesses to establish and maintain a great relationship, not only with their bank, but with their banker. And that's an ongoing relationship. And that's probably proven to be most critical over the last 30 days as we have worked through both round 1 and round 2 of the PPP loan programs. Check in with your bank and your banker from time to time. I think it's critically important to keep your banker informed of what's going on with your business, not only during the good times, but also during some of the more challenging times, both with your industry as well as what's going on with your staff and your customers. Consider your banker as your partner. Your banker takes a vested interest in the success of your business, and from that perspective, they consider themselves as a partner in your business, and you as a business owner, I think, should consider them as your partner in the same vein. Seek your bank and your banker's input or advice from a financial perspective. They can be involved in some of your key business decisions as it relates to the success of your business, particularly as you're going through some of the challenging times that we currently are. I'd like to turn now just a little bit to the PPP program. As you all know, round one was $300 billion in loans that were offered. Those were closed in a matter of days. From a timing standpoint, round two was recently approved, and as of last evening, $181 billion of round two have already been committed. That was in approximately 2.4 million in loans, bringing the average loan to approximately $76,000. And that the round two of the loans were conducted by more than 5,400 different lenders across the country. So as you know, a lot of banks, a lot of lenders were involved in that program. Bring it a little closer to home as it relates to Security National Bank. As a company, between rounds one and two thus far, we've done over 750 loans with our bank customers, totaling approximately $150 million. And the thing to keep in mind with all of those loans, they were closed within a 10-day approval time frame. Our bankers were not only spending 24 hours a day working on getting those loans closed for the benefit of our small businesses. We spent a considerable amount of time up front doing enough prep work that we wanted our clients to be prepared for the ultimate end result, i.e. loan forgiveness. And so we developed those relationships with those customers, keeping them informed of what information we were going to need, not only up front, but on an ongoing basis, with the ultimate goal to get the forgiveness of those loans. Locally, in the Jordan Creek office, in the last few weeks, we have closed 20 loans, and just a little bit north of $3 million for all of our local customer base. I spoke briefly a bit ago about round two, totaling $181 billion. There is still PPP money available. So if you do know of a small business, or you are one yourself that has not applied for the PPP loan program yet, and you feel like you are qualified, or you feel like you would like to talk about qualifications to find out if you might be qualified, I would encourage you to reach out to your local banker that you have that relationship with, or more importantly, reach out to me, establish a relationship, and we'll see what we can do to help you accomplish that goal. Thank you.
Mute button. Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome.
Classic technology mistake. Thank you so much, Ray. Really appreciate all your information and hard work helping our local companies. We now would like to hear from Milligan, who is President and CEO of the Iowa Center for Economic Success. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, Catherine, and thanks to your team. And congrats on your new gig. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
There with the West Des Moines Chamber logo in the background. So fun. So Iowa Center for Economic Success helps people start and grow a small business. So our focus are on those companies that are usually under 20 employees, that are either getting ready to start or working on scaling up. Our focus is on education, capital, and networking. As Jane already said, we also have the state's only women's business center, which is partially funded by the SBA. And through that, we have been able to work with Jane. She and her team have provided us a lot of information so our team can coach people through how their businesses can get involved and leverage the CARES Act. We also partner with Iowa Economic Development Authority. We manage the targeted small business loan portfolio. So last year we loaned out about $850,000 to small businesses in the state of Iowa. But as it relates specifically to COVID, those partnerships have remained critical. We partner again with IEDA. We managed the targeted small business sole proprietor grant process. And then also we just launched yesterday with the Greater Des Moines Partnership, their emergency grant program, which is a huge partnership with the city of Des Moines and actually all of the cities, West Des Moines, Urbandale, in Dallas County, Polk County, and Warren County. So those emergency grants just launched yesterday on the partnership's website. In addition, we worked with IEDA and we have our own small loan portfolio as well to, for now, waive interest and loan payments through July 15th. When we made that decision on March 15th, we thought July was a good target, that small businesses would have been up and running by then for another month or two and would have money back in their bank accounts to make their loan payments. We're guessing that July 15th date is going to keep moving. But that's something that we worked on within our own board of directors and with IEDA to make sure that those loans that are out there in the hands of small businesses for around 30 to 50,000, that their interest and their payments could be on hold. So that could just be one of the things that they didn't have to worry about. But as Ray talked about, we're also encouraging all of our clients to work with their bankers on what opportunities and options they have as well with those loans that they have. You know, the biggest thing that we do, while we do manage these small grants and we continue to work on loans too for businesses that are still bringing in revenue, the biggest thing that we're doing right now is coaching. We're able to provide, because it's our business model as a nonprofit, that one-on-one coaching where when small businesses call in and they just have no idea how to figure out what money is out there and available to them, we'll walk them through that. The other big thing that we're seeing is companies that have never had to seek funding before, especially not emergency funding, just have no idea how to put together a loan application package. And loan application packages are essentially the same as emergency grant applications. You know, having to have your profit and loss and what the heck is a balance sheet. And I think I uploaded a W-9 form, but I'm really not sure what that is. All of those different kinds of things our team is working with our clients on. And then obviously today is about accessing financing and capital to be able to sustain your business. But the other thing that we work on is how to change and pivot your business so you can keep more of the little money that you have right now. So you may not be able to access those emergency grants. You may be confused, although like we said, we'll help coach you through on how you get that PPP money. But if you're not accessing additional cash, what can you do to keep cash? And what can you do to change your business model? So we work with a lot of storefronts, and we've been coaching people on how to change to an online store, how to do personal shopping, what is in this huge multi-page thing that the governor released on what are the real rules. Can a store let one person in at a time? Can you do personal shopping through Facebook? All of those different kinds of things are what we're helping clients figure out. And then those service industries, you know, if you're doing massage or sports therapy, things like that. My son gets sports massage therapy for his running career. Obviously you can't go in anymore and get those muscles worked on, but his coach has figured out how to offer some services legally online. How do you still color your grays? Very critical. All of those kinds of things. We coach our clients on the legality of what they're allowed to do and not do, because it's a lot to figure out. You don't want to get shut down. But then how can you still maintain some sort of revenue? And then we also work with them on perhaps one of the most sensitive topics, and that's their staffing. I was on the phone with somebody the other day who had to lay off 85 people, and the tragedy and the emotional burden that that puts on the owners, to know that they're they feel that they're ruining the lives of the people that they've loved and that they've depended on to grow their business. So we coach people on, you know, what's a furlough versus firing somebody versus unemployment. You know, what does that COVID box mean if you check that for your unemployment collection? All of those different kinds of things. So we can figure out, again, how people can keep their cash, try to figure out how they can get some new cash, and survive, so that, you know, when or if this is all over, they're still thriving.
Wow, Megan, you and your organization do a lot. You have to be super busy right now.
The team is working hard. We're just very grateful that, you know, our business model was kind of set up to move virtually. But just like Ray was saying, we moved into a new office like a month before this started, and we can't be there right now. Although I did let my kids run around in there the other day and use the whiteboards, but still, crazy time.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about that partnership emergency grant program that just got released? Do you have a little bit more detail on that, since it's very fresh?
Yeah, so that has been an interesting process for the partnership. Jay and Meg obviously worked hard to raise money for that. And then if your company is in the city of Des Moines, there's also those possible CDBG funds or CBDG, whatever funds available, which are federal funds. If you're in special census tract, you can access that capital. So if your business is in the city of Des Moines, there's money up to 10. All of the other cities are also putting in cash themselves, and then the partnership has raised funds to do matching. It's businesses with under 30 FTEs. So that doesn't necessarily mean 30 employees. Restaurants, for example, might have 60 employees, but when you piece together all their hours, it ends up being under 30 FTEs. So an FTE is 40 hours. So if you have two 20-hour employees, they equal 1 FTE. The application, if you go onto the site, it has the FAQ, and then it tells you everything that you need to upload. And then it goes right into a portal that goes into our system, and the scoring, it's pretty simple from that end. But the most important thing is just getting those documents uploaded. If you don't understand what they are, what you're supposed to do, you can call the Iowa Center or send us an email, and those numbers and email address are on that site for the partnership. But this is, this isn't money that's gonna, none of this, with the exception of PPP or those bigger cash things, none of this is gonna be totally life-changing cash, right? It is Band-Aids, and we understand that it's a little bit here and it's a little bit there, and it feels like a lot of work to get it. And that's where our team can hopefully help you a little bit. But it's, it might be the difference of being able to pay those 2 months of rent and get us a little further along. And then I think all of the people that are in on this know that if this keeps going, we're gonna have to figure something else out. There's gonna have to be more grant opportunities. There's gonna have to be access to more emergency money, because what's been released so far is, just a month or two worth of cash.
Yep. Well, and that's the big question. We don't know how long this is going to last and how long our businesses need the support. So everybody's taking it day by day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, gosh, this has been incredible. I am so glad you were all here to share this information, and I'm so happy that we recorded this, because people will be wanting to plug this in. There was so much information that was shared today. We have 6 minutes, which I did not think was humanly possible. So I wanted to know if anybody has a question. You can certainly chat it out. It looks like we don't have any questions. So you've answered everybody's question here today. And Jane, do you want to follow up with last words here for the last 5 minutes?
Sure. There's a couple things that I forgot to mention too. We did open back up EIDL into a second round of funding on Monday. They're not accepting new applications unless you are in the agricultural sector. So they did limit new applications to ag-related businesses. And if businesses, one thing that's critical with this, because we had really taxing with the system with 4 million applicants. If anybody applied for EIDL and had a loan that was in the, got a loan number in the 200 series that started with the 2, and they need to reapply because then they wouldn't have had access to the advance. And so if they reapply, it's a much simplified application. What it does is it links into their previous applications. They won't lose their place in line, but they will have access to that advance. So just wanted to share that. We also, somebody had mentioned too, I forgot to mention about for anybody with existing SBA loans for 6 months, we're also deferring all existing disaster loans through the end of the year for small businesses. So there's a lot of activity like that going on between the lending partners and the SBA as well that is helping to position businesses with their cash flow as well as just getting money out there. But if there's still money left in this round of the PPP lending, and so as everybody has mentioned, if you do not if you need the financing, thought that maybe it didn't fit for your business, I mean it wasn't your business wouldn't qualify, please encourage businesses to apply. The average loan size has been around $70,000 in the second round, so it's much smaller. We do anticipate, since they have allowed county hospitals and to get into and farmers to get into the program now. We anticipate, especially with the county hospitals, those are going to be bigger deals. And those are going to start hitting this week. So the numbers will be skewed a little bit, but we want to make sure that the small businesses and the nonprofits, we didn't really talk about nonprofits, but nonprofits are, a lot of nonprofits are applying for these programs as well, and they're being assisted in a critical way as well. So just want to encourage people to still apply. We don't know if there's going to be another round. This round has gone at much slower, so we think that there's kind of a saturation point right now, so we'll see what happens. And just want to thank everybody for all the collaboration and all the support for the small business community. And I think if there is one thing that we get out of, if there's one positive thing that comes out of this entire experience, it's that I think that America has finally woken up to how important small business is to the economy. And if we get that out of it, then at least there's one good thing coming out of COVID, because, too often I think people took small businesses for granted and they didn't realize, all of us that work with small businesses or have ties to it really understand how important it is, but there's a lot of people across this country that didn't realize until now how critical it is to the economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kathleen, are we going to have questions after this? Because I just have one question on the PPP.
Yeah, go ahead and ask, Kelly.
So I was lucky. I got in at the very beginning. So I'm lucky or not lucky, depending on how you look at it. Since I own a restaurant, by the time all this funding came out, we had already laid off all of our people because we couldn't wait. We didn't have the money to pay them. Now I have the PPP funding. I have the money, but we're still not allowed to be open. So I'm not going to bring my people back off unemployment just to think, okay, well, maybe we're only at half capacity for 3 months, 4 months. So are they looking at extending that timeline for when I have to spend the money? Because right now I've got 3 weeks left to spend my money.
We are constantly begging to make a rule change for them to understand. And I know a lot of the organizations, a lot of the associations have been lobbying. They're not lobbying, but whatever. They're all pushing to get the changes made. My understanding is that the administration and Mnuchin have been very strict with it, that they do not want to make those changes. But I had a conversation just yesterday. I mean, we've been having an ongoing conversation with the congressional delegation. I know that everybody is really pushing it. So I don't know. You never say never, because there's just been changes constantly with this program. But everybody has been making that argument, and particularly for the restaurant industry. We recognize, and believe me, we're fighting for that too. But I mean, they're just not budging right now on that 8-week rule. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry about that, because that's a huge flaw with the program. But the reality is that they're just not budging on the policy with that. So yeah. I don't know. I know that Senator Ernst was having a conversation, or was talking to Secretary Mnuchin about it again. So I don't know what the status is today, if there will be any changes under that.
Okay, yeah, because I know I talked to Joni Ernst's office as well, and they're working on it. But it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm going to end up giving the money back, because I don't want a $30,000 loan. I'll just not bring employees back, or I'll work longer out. I mean, it's just unfortunate that they can't think beyond that. Yeah.
Well, and then we ran into a problem yesterday with people, steakhouses not being able to get meat orders. And so they're not going to be able to open in some of the counties where they're starting to ease some different things. So that kind of adds to the problem. And we keep elevating these issues. We just haven't gotten anywhere. I mean, I'm so sorry, but because if there was one major change we would make to this program, it would be that. I know a lot of people feel that way, but if for whatever reason, you know, I don't know what the reasoning is behind it, but I just know that they haven't changed, or they're not budging on the policy on that.
Well, we hope at some point that'll change. It sounds like that puts some of our businesses in a pickle, for sure. So thanks for bringing that up, Kelly. It's 10:03, and I want to say thanks so much for everybody being here, for Melissa Ness, CFO of Aureon, Ray Meister, Iowa Market President for Security National Bank, our esteemed panelists, Polina Engel, Adrienne Greenwald, Scott Hoekman, Ray Meister, Megan Milligan, Jane Armstrong. Really want to say thanks again, and make sure you plug into the rest of our series next week on May 14 at 9 a.m. We're going to be talking about business continuity planning. What does it look like when we start opening up our businesses? What are the legal ramifications? How do we navigate that new world? We're going to be talking about amping up your social media in a future program, just kind of like what Megan said, providing tools to keep that revenue flowing, new ideas to amp up your social media game, to keep those revenue streams going. And again, thanks for the info. Wish everybody a safe rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.